De mare.
Hello everyone. How is everybody doing? Dima's not here. I don't know where she ran off to, but hello family. Let us know where it is in the world you're tuning from. I've got a really awesome presentation for you. I hope everybody is going to find this informative. I look forward to all your questions. Dima, I unfortunately can't share my screen at the moment, so I need you to share it for me because it doesn't show up. So it is not in the slideshow. Thank you, Dima. So today I'm going to be discussing a topic that's really important, and this topic is going to be maternal mortality in the Black community. I'm going to be talking about here in the U.S., but also going to be giving a little bit of a global perspective. Again, please let me know where it is you're tuning from, and I will do my best to try to kind of relay this in terms of wherever it is you're tuning from. But I'm going to start the presentation. I'm going to go through it first, and then I will open myself up for any questions that you may have, go through any Q&A. So again, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Mazin Khalil. I have a Master of Public Health in Epidemiology and Biostatistics with a concentration in epidemiology, and I study infectious diseases. I have also a Master of Arts in Public Policy and Law with a concentration in health policy. And during that particular study, or during my first master's degree, which is the Master of Arts in Public Policy and Law, I actually focused on maternal health, and in particular Black maternal mortality. So I'll go through it, and I will give some recommendations towards the end of this. So I hope you are all tuning in with me. Again, please feel free to ask me any questions at any point in time. I will try to address your questions, and I will try to make this not as jargon heavy, because I hate when people talk to me in jargon that I don't understand. So I'm going to do my best to explain everything, but if you don't understand something that I'm saying, please let me know, and I will do my best to explain it. Dima, can you make this presentation full screen for me? So without me in the little corner right there, thank you. And so here we go. I'm going to full screen that presentation also, and we'll go through it. All right. Thank you everybody for your time, and let's go. Okay, perfect. So as I said, my name is Mazin Khalil, and these are my degrees. This is my name. And my topic will be, again, Black maternal mortality, or maternal mortality in the Black community. So let's start off by asking this question: what is maternal mortality? So maternal mortality is the death of a woman while pregnant or 42 days after terminating pregnancy. So this basically means the death of a woman while she still has the baby with her, or after 42 days after she has continued the pregnancy. So after labor, after the baby has come out, or sometimes it's a little bit complicated, but for the most part, the definition that we use is after, either while still pregnant, death while still pregnant, or after pregnancy is finished. So how do we measure maternal mortality? We measure it using something called the maternal mortality ratio. and we use something called reproductive age mortality studies, which is an acronym RAMOS. So RAMOS is a means of triangulation of different sources of data, and in particular on the deaths of reproductive age women coupled with autopsy data to determine maternal death. So what that basically means is we take a bunch of different data points and we try to put them together in order to be able to find out what it is that caused a woman who was pregnant or 42 days after pregnancy passed away. So Ramos uses regression models, and it is collected every 5 years, and the data for maternal mortality is collected every 5 years globally and regionally. Also, the death of a woman, for the very first bullet point, which is this one, the death of a woman while pregnant or 42 days after terminating pregnancy, this is irrespective of site of pregnancy. So irrespective of a woman is if she is visibly pregnant or not. So we got some more definitions here that we have to go through, and it's imperative that we kind of go through this. This is a little jargon heavy, but I'll do my best to break it down. So one of the first terms that we look at is pregnancy-related death. And so pregnancy-related death is death within 42 days, irrespective of cause. So if a woman is pregnant and she dies 42 days, so if she dies 42 days after pregnancy, it doesn't matter what the cause is. If she had a cold or if whatever it is considered pregnancy-related death. Now, late maternal death is the next point, and late maternal death is death within a time span of more than 42 days, but less than a year of pregnancy. So if somebody, for example, delivers a baby and then they pass away after more than 42 days, but less than a year after giving birth, that would be considered late maternal death. The next one is proportion of maternal deaths, PMS. And proportion of maternal deaths is essentially a proportion or a ratio amongst deaths of reproductive age women. So women who are capable of giving or having babies, death amongst them is considered the proportion of maternal deaths. Proportion of pregnancy-related deaths is amongst women of reproductive age. And then you have maternal mortality rate. So that is the ratio of maternal deaths to the women years of exposure of women age 15 to 49. So you basically take a comparison. This is a little bit more biostatistic heavy. So what you do with this is you essentially take a ratio of the amount of people, the amount of women who have passed away, and you essentially compare that to the amount of women between the ages of 15 and 49 who could potentially have babies or have children. And that is how we are able to calculate. And again, it's the amount of women who've passed away compared to the amount of possible women ages 15 to 49 who can have children. What we have next is called the lifetime risk. And so the lifetime risk is the probability of a 15-year-old girl eventually dying from a maternal cause. This is assuming she's subjected through her lifetime to the risks of maternal death as estimated for that country year. Now, country year is a little bit complicated. It essentially is another measurement that we use. That is a little bit more jargon heavy. And that we won't really get into that because that's a whole nother biostatistics lesson. So we won't bother with that one. And then we have the annual rate of reduction, which is essentially the annual, or it's a measure of decline of maternal deaths across, it's just a measure of decline for maternal deaths. So now we're going to get into kind of the causes of general maternal mortality. So the general causes of maternal mortality are preeclampsia and eclampsia. So preeclampsia is hypertension while pregnancy, or having hypertension due to pregnancy, and that's what eclampsia is, when you actually get hypertension. So you know how when you go to the doctor and they tell you, like, for example, if you don't watch your salt intake, then you can possibly become hypertensive. You're like on the borderline. That's what preeclampsia is. But then when you actually get hypertension, which is you have high blood pressure, that's eclampsia. But this is specifically due to being pregnant. Another thing is actually hypertension, which is after the pregnancy. So after the women have given birth, some of them still continue to have hypertension. And preeclampsia is actually, it's a little bit different than hypertension because it's specifically related to that pregnancy. So there are infections that, women can get as a result of, for example, a C-section, or as a result of some, surgical procedures due to their pregnancies. There's the complications from deliveries, and so sometimes the delivery will not be as smooth, and not only will the baby be affected, but also mom as well. And all of these aforementioned reasons account for about 75% of maternal deaths. So now here are the statistics worldwide. I'm not sure if you guys can actually see this map the way that I'm seeing it, but essentially the darker the color, the worse these statistics are across the world. So if you look at this bottom map here, you'll notice that some sub-Saharan African countries have really have to continue working towards maternal mortality and working to decrease that. Now, here's something that we can kind of take a look at and we can discuss a little bit more. So this is a figure right here. It is the equitable risks of maternal and child death across regions. So this is across all of North America, meaning, Canada, the U.S., United States of America, and also Mexico. So here what you have is these statistics. So 1 to 143 means 1 death per 143, and this is measured in thousands per 100,000. So 1 death in every 143,000, which is, here you have 1 in 45,000, and so on and so forth. So you'll see that unfortunately the numbers in what we call the quote unquote Western world look a little better than everywhere else. Here, for example, in Latin America, and in the Caribbean, you'll see that 1 in 56 is a pretty high ratio. This is what it looks like in Europe, and then here are the rest of the world. So you have Africa, you have the Western Pacific, which includes Australia and New Zealand, and a couple of Oceania, the Oceania region. Now, I want to specifically talk about maternal mortality in the U.S. for a second here. So these are the trends in pregnancy-related mortality in the United States from 1987 up until 2013. The newest statistics, as I said earlier, it's taken every 5 years. The newest statistics should have come out in 2018. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't look up to see what the newest statistics are because I know they're probably not that much better, but I haven't taken a look at them. I will definitely make sure to do that after I finish up this presentation. So these numbers are again per 100,000. So you'll see here in 1987, we're looking at 7.2 per 100,000 live births. Live births meaning babies have come out, they're alive, they're not stillborn. So this is what we're looking at here. These are the years, and this is the percentage right here, or the ratio. So as the years go on, what you'll notice is that the number begins to increase. Again, this is not broken down by race yet. We'll do that later on. But this is across all of the U.S. And so you'll notice that as the time has gone forward, so as we've progressed in years, you'll notice that the ratio has gone up. There are some particular places and points in time where it's gone down significantly. I'm not quite sure what's happened in these particular regions right here that have caused it to either go down or plateau, but that is something that I do hope to continue exploring. But you'll see that in 1987 we started out with 7.2 per 100,000 live births. That's what was the mortality rate, and here in 2013 we're looking at 17.3. So it's gone up significantly. Now, here's the thing about the U.S. So in terms of the U.S., we think about the U.S. as, being this great healthcare, place. And it is great in healthcare, but maternal mortality is one of the places where it lacks severely. So the U.S. is one of 13 countries where maternal mortality has gone down, has actually declined in the past 15 years. And it's actually worse now than it was 15 years ago. So these are the ratios from 2011 to 2013. These are the maternal mortality related ratios. And I want you guys to pay attention to something. Here we have, for white women, the ratio is 12.7 per 100,000 live births. For black women, it is 43 per 100,000 live births for black women. So this is the amount of people that are dying right here. I just want to remind you of that. And for women of other races, it's 14.4 per 100,000. Now, here is the thing that's really shocking and stunning when we look at this number right here in the middle. So nearly 40% or 40, it's nearly 12 3 times, give or take, the amount of women the amount of women, black women who are dying per 100,000 than it is for white women, 3 to 4 times. Now, so getting into black maternal mortality, when we begin to do the breakdown of what it is that's causing maternal mortality, their 5 factor rates were the same as white women. However, the issue is that black women are dying 2 to 3 times more likely than white women. This is national. This is in certain places, but nationally, they're 3 to 4 times more likely to die at the rate of white mothers. And here in New York City, where I'm based, you'll find that black women are 12 times more likely to die in New York City than they are than nationally than women than white women. In From 2001 to 2005, the risk was 7 times higher than white women. And college-educated mothers are more likely to die than those who never graduated high school. This is college-age black mothers. College-educated black mothers are more likely to die than those white women who never graduated high school. And so these statistics are stark, they're shocking, and quite frankly, they're actually really saddening. When I found out that black women in New York City were 12 times more likely to die than white women, I was absolutely shook and I was absolutely stunned. Now, what is it that is causing black women to die at higher rates? So the causes of black maternal mortality include socioeconomic factors. So now when we're talking about socioeconomic factors, we're talking about things that affect them socially, but that also affect them economically. Now, when I say that, I'm sure that a bunch of you can automatically know where it is that I'm going. So we're talking about the amount of income that they have. We're talking about level of education. We're talking about a whole bunch of different things. But remember here, the sad thing is that with black women, the more educated that you become, it does not decrease your rate of dying. So with black mothers specifically. So we're talking about socioeconomic factors, which we call SES. We're talking about things like access to healthy food. So we know that there are food deserts. Access to produce, access to healthy foods, access to fresh fruits, access to good meat. You'll find that there are, KFCs and Crown Fried Chickens and these kinds of places, unhealthy junk food. And I actually challenge you to actually walk around your neighborhood and just count the amount of places that sell fresh produce. And then I want you to compare that to the amount of places that sell things like, junk food. So we're also access to healthy food or lack of access to healthy food actually causes things such as diabetes and hypertension, which has been proven by the literature. If you're not eating foods that are good for you, that are nutritious and have actual nutritional value, due to the fact that you don't have the amount of money to be able to spend on healthy and fresh produce, you're more likely to get diabetes, and therefore you're also more likely to get hypertension. A great example of this is, for example, if you go to McDonald's with $30, you can buy food to feed an entire family. But, you go to the supermarket, $30 is not going to get you a lot of like fresh fruits or a lot of fresh veggies. Now, here's something that's also stark: racism. Racism is actually killing. And this is what we mean when we say racism kills, right? And so you'll find that a lot of black mothers have gone to hospitals and have been mistreated, or they have not been believed in terms of pain and their pain tolerance. And actually a famous example that got me started on this project was actually Serena Williams. Serena Williams had basically had read an article in which she was explaining that she has a clotting condition that causes clots to form in her body and in her lungs. And she had gone and she had spoken to her doctors and said she was having a hard time breathing. And she told them, "I'm having clots." And her doctor told her, no, you're okay, you'll be fine and whatnot. And she told the doctor, "This is what you need to do. This is the medicine that you need to give to me. This is what my normal PCP, my primary care physician, does," and so on and so forth. And they gave her those medicines, and then afterwards they kind of took some blood work and whatnot and found that she actually was having a clot in her lungs, and she could have died as a result of that. The issue is that black mothers, when they go into hospitals and when they go into these places and they're explaining, "This is what's happening, this is the pain that I'm feeling," they're not listened to in that regard. The reason why this is actually one of the foundations of medicine itself. So medicine was built on, in particular specialties in medicine, and I'm talking specifically about surgery, for example, in gynecology, these procedures were done on Black women while they were awake. And the reason why that is because it was believed that Black people had a higher pain tolerance, which is still something that's being taught. It's still something that exists in the minds of people, specifically doctors. And this is a big issue. Now, here is what I have found in terms of what is actually one of the main causes of Black maternal mortality, and is stress. I know everybody remembers earlier where I said that college-educated Black mothers are dying at higher rates than white women who have never graduated high school. Why is that? Because of stress. So we have this thing called telomeres, which essentially is what our DNA is coded into, and they're kind of like when you think about the infinity sign or a sideways 8, that's what they kind of look like, to kind of simplify it. The older we get, the more those things wear out and the shorter they get. Now, that is called weathering. So what happens is that the more stress that we undergo, the more our DNA is actually changed, and it becomes shorter and shorter. This is found in an article by NPR. If anybody would like the link to the article, I can definitely find it for you, and I can definitely get it for you. But essentially, this actually causes a physiological change in Black women, and that therefore produces premature babies and causes Black women to have high rates of premature babies, and also is found to be a cause of preeclampsia. So stress does actually kill, and it's actually lethal for Black mothers. Finally, one of the things that I found is that there are worse healthcare options for Black parents, and specifically Black moms. And I want you to think, for example, of, if you live in a predominantly Black neighborhood, what is the closest hospital to you look like in terms of facility? Is it a clean hospital? Is it a hospital that you would typically go to? Is it a hospital that is, do they give good quality care? What's the quality of care they're like? In predominantly Black neighborhoods, hospitals are treating predominantly Black people because most of the people living in the area surrounding the hospital are Black. What has been found in medicine is that, unfortunately, in those locations, the quality of care is actually worse. And so therefore, that also contributes to Black mothers passing away. Now, here is a case study that I actually did, or a case study that I looked at, and it's called Georgia When the State Fails. So this is the case study a case study that I looked at. It was actually Georgia, and this is what happens when a state fails. So Georgia was ranked worst in 2010 out of all of the 50 states in terms of Black maternal mortality. In 2017, it managed to climb its way up 2 spots, and it was then ranked number 48. So in 2016, the MMR, which was the maternal mortality ratio, was 40.7, which is terrible. So when you begin to break that down, the rate at which Black women were dying was 62.1 per 100,000 live births, whereas comparatively for white women, it was 27.1. That's nearly half of it. So if we make that 62.1 exactly 60, and we round up that 27 to 30, we're looking at exactly half as many white women are dying in the state of Georgia. White mothers are dying in the state of Georgia as Black mothers. So in the state of Georgia, Black mothers are dying at twice the rate of white mothers. The thing with the Georgia was that when I looked at this case study, it was the 5th poorest state in the nation. So here we go. We're going back to what we're talking about here, socioeconomic factors and the worst healthcare options. In order to, the way that they ranked these states was by a couple of different categories, and Georgia actually failed in 4 categories. So the access to quality care for Black mothers was poor. The insurance and the pricing, which is something that I'm sure everybody worries about when they have to go to the hospital. You're worried about, am I going to be able to pay for this? What is this going to look like? And if you don't have insurance, that's even worse. So insurance and pricing was abysmal. There was no funding for maternal health. The funding was poor, and accountability around data usage was non-existent. And so this is what happens when a state fails. You see that it is ranked among the worst. If we are ranking from the 50 states, you're ranked number 48, which means you're dead last. Now, here's something interesting that actually happens in North Carolina, where North Carolina has found a way to kind of close the gap between Black and white maternal mortality. So when we take a look back at here, the blue line, or the dark blue line here, is for Black people. The yellow line here is for white people, and specifically mothers, because we're talking about maternal mortality. But in 1999, and this is from the Department of Human and Health Services, which is in North Carolina. North Carolina's Department of Health and Human Services. And they are the ones who collected the statistics, and they are the ones who have provided this source right here. But if we're looking in 1999, we find that the rate for white mothers is 11.2 per 100,000 live births, again, per 100,000 live births, whereas comparatively for Black mothers, it's 38. So the rate is insane. It's insane. If we were to make this 40 and we round this down to 10, we're looking here at Black mothers dying at 4 times the rate of white mothers in 1999 in North Carolina. As we progress closer to 2013, you'll see that this rate has evened out, that they are dying essentially at a 1-to-1 ratio, which is, I mean, people dying is not good, but the fact that North Carolina was able to close this gap from 4 times the rate to exactly 1-to-1 is pretty amazing. I don't know what exactly happened here that caused this decline from 50 per 100,000 to 20. I'm not exactly sure. This happened in 2006. I will have to do more research on that. I know somebody's going to ask me that question, but I'm not quite sure what happened here exactly. And I'm actually not sure what caused us to kind of spike up to 20 per 100,000 live births and can cause it to continue going up. I don't know the answer to that, and I apologize, and I hope you will forgive me for that. So now, here is the case study. This is the case study that I'm looking at, when North Carolina actually does an awesome job, and it kind of manages to bring this down. So in 1999, as I explained, the Black maternal mortality rate was 39 per 100,000 live births for Black mothers, while for white mothers it was 11 per 100,000. Again, let's round this number down to 10. Let's round this number up to 4 to make it easier. Black mothers were dying at 4 times the rate of white mothers in North Carolina. In 2013, however, they were able to bring that rate down and cause it to become a 1-to-1 ratio, and that rate became 23 per 100,000 live births. It has decreased since 1999 for Black moms, but has increased for white moms. It nearly doubled. I don't know why it doubled for white moms. I'm not quite sure about that. Now, the reason why this decline occurred was because of something called the pregnancy medical homes, or a system that they implemented called pregnancy medical homes. Now, what is pregnancy medical homes? I'll begin to break that down, and I'll kind of explain that for everybody. So the pregnancy medical homes is basically a program in which 94% of Medicaid doctors were participating, and they essentially were going to give these mothers a team that was going to be with them from the beginning of pregnancy all the way up until when the baby actually comes out. This team did a whole bunch of different things, including screening mothers for extra. They essentially did extra screenings on moms, especially those that were high risk. So when we're talking about high risk mothers, we're talking about those who were who were a little overweight, who had previous health conditions, including diabetes or hypertension, anything that will put them at risk for death during pregnancy or as a result of pregnancy. And actually, which was really cool about this is that they incentivized these screenings. So the doctors were being paid more to actually be more cautious. And as I said, they gave them something called a pregnancy care manager, which is a nurse that is with you from the beginning of your pregnancy all the way up until the end of your pregnancy. And this nurse did everything for them. So this nurse helped them with, going to go get healthy produce, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. A nurse kind of coordinated care with the doctors. There was a team of doctors that was essentially attached to each mom. This nurse coordinated the care. The nurse did everything, took them to like the hospital when it was time for labor, and did all these things. This was a really cool program, and it actually resulted in a decline in C-sections. Now, the reason why that's important is C-sections are actually one of the major causes of deaths, because as a result of C-sections, women were getting more infections. And that was causing an increase, or that was one of the major factors for maternal mortality, which is infections. This was really cool, and this was this was an amazing way to bring down the Black maternal mortality in North Carolina. And so these are my references. If anybody would like to take a look at them, I don't mind sharing these references. Here's some more of them. And that is all I have for everybody. I'm excited to see your comments, to see your questions. I'm more than happy to answer any questions for anybody. Yes, food apartheid definitely needs to end. Food apartheid is insane, and not having, you know, that's actually a really really big issue, and it contributes to a lot of these things. I see Miss Imani Newsom here has said Lampert's Point has no grocery store, but at least 2 dozen fast food joints and gas station marts. Residents have been begging the city of Norfolk for a grocery for over 20 years. They claim no chains will invest in our community. Rooming houses for students are going up in every available plot. Students have better resources on campus and a shuttle to grocery stores. Norfolk and ODU don't really care about us. And that's actually really unfortunate, because I'm sure people are more than willing to invest in these communities. But again, when you don't have people, investing in places that actually causes, medical expenses to go up. There's actually a really cool, it wasn't really cool, it was unfortunately very ironic, Facebook post that I saw in which it basically stated that, the person who bikes is causing a decline in the economy. And it goes on to explain that the person who bikes doesn't have to buy, oil, doesn't have to buy car petroleum for their car, gas for their car. They're healthy. The fact that they mentioned healthy in this post was so mind-boggling. It was so crazy. Ms. Viola, thank you so much. Maternal health is definitely something that we need to really, really talk about, and I don't think it's talked about enough. Unfortunately, I just had a friend pass away due to maternal mortality. Somebody who I knew from when I was very young, and so this is obviously something that's very close to my heart and something that's very dear. And as a Black man, I care about Black women out there. I have so much love for Black women out there, and I want to make sure that Black women all over the world are safe and that they are not dying at higher rates for things that are out of their control, including racism and including stress. Um, uh, Thank you, Miss Sandra. Extremely informative. This is why it's important to learn to grow our own produce. It helps protect your body and your family. Absolutely. I actually have a friend. Shout outs to my brother Bilal Walker, from Newark, New Jersey. Bilal has actually taken a plot, and he's actually turned that into a community garden where he teaches kids how to grow their own things, their own produce. And it actually, this mashallah is called Jannah on Grafton. So that's JANNAH on and then Grafton, GRAFTON. And it's really amazing, because Jannah on Grafton actually produces for the community. Yes, definitely look up Bilal Walker and look up Jannah on Grafton in Newark. It's like that project is just amazing. May Allah bless him and continue to bless the work that he has done for the community. I'm more than willing to hear any questions that any of you have for me, anything that I said that didn't make sense, anything that you want me to explain a little bit further. Please, by all means, let me know. I'm definitely here for it, and I'm definitely willing to explain anything for anybody. And if anybody would like to join me in this conversation and actually ask me questions here live, I'm more than welcome and willing to do that as well. Ms. Imani has said in 2015, Norfolk Public Health released a study showing disparities in BIPOC, so Black, Indigenous, People of Color, chronic illness, and mortality rates when compared to more affluent neighbors on either side of the working poor. Yeah, that's actually true. Again, there's some statistics that are really disheartening that'll show you, like, for example, a white man who is a convicted felon is more likely than a Black man to get a job, and that affects, health, and it affects a whole bunch of different things. I unfortunately have not looked up to see if there are any new stats on Virginia, but I can definitely take a look at that and can definitely let you know, Miss Imani. I'm more than willing to do that. Amina, There's also the stigma surrounding Black women with regard to their tolerance for pain. They're thought to have higher pain tolerances than their white female counterparts, and therefore their cries of help are disproportionately ignored. That is absolutely true. It's actually what ended up, happening to Serena Williams, which is what prompted this project. And she was talking about her clotting condition, and she was not heard. Miss Tanya, I'm sorry, I don't have the newer stats on Virginia, but I will definitely look into that for you. Miss Sandra has said, yes, I was victim of not being listened to. As a result, we lost our daughter, and I almost moved on with her. I'm so sorry for your loss, Miss Sandra, but I'm very glad that you're here. We definitely do have to demand that our doctors hear us, and that they listen to us, because, who knows your body better than you? Nobody. Again, my condolences for, the loss of your daughter. But yes, please, if anybody would like to, join me on this conversation, ask me any questions live. I'm more than willing to answer their questions live. Dima, if you can drop the link in the chat for anybody who'd like to join me and ask these questions live, I'm more than willing to listen, more than willing to engage and answer questions for you. Again, I still have a long way to go in this field, a very, very long way to go. I'm not an expert in this by any means. It's, I have to look at more statistics and take a look at everything else that's being done. But, I'm more than happy to share the information that I do have, and what it is that I do know, and help out in any way that I can, by passing along that information. Yes, definitely. Peace and blessings to you, Miss Sandra. Peace and blessings. I'll be here for maybe another 15 minutes if anybody would like to, come and engage me, ask me any questions, anything of that nature. I'm here. Yeah, please. Let me ask you folks this question. Is there anything that I mentioned here that was shocking to you? What was it that you were not expecting? What kind of took you back? What shocked you? I know for me personally, the thing that shocked me, you're very welcome, Miss Sandra. I know the thing that personally shocked me was racism. I never quite thought of racism as being something that is, a sociological, that it has physiological effects. In sociology, we say racism has physiological effects all the time. I just didn't think it would, play a role in maternal mortality. That was something that was personally shocking for me. The statistics nationally were also shocking. I did not imagine that that Georgia's rates would look the way that they looked. When I found out that Georgia was ranked the worst for Black maternal mortality, I was absolutely blown away. And especially to have statistics that Georgia had was absolutely appalling. This is an excellent question. What are 3 ways that we can be better health advocates for ourselves or others? I think one of the things that we need to really that we really need to do, and this is something that I would recommend for everybody, is definitely lobby. Write to your legislators, whether that be your city council person, whether that be your borough president, whether that be a neighborhood advocate, some type of individual or organization. Definitely write to that individual organization, explain to them what is needed. I think a lot of people sometimes feel like they don't have the ability, or that their voice doesn't matter, and that's something that is so wrong. Everybody's voice matters. So if you're able to gather people about a topic, one that is, for example, about, I know somebody, I believe this was you actually, Miss Imani, who said that there was no grocery stores in your neighborhood or in your community. If you were able to gather people and kind of continue to write to your legislator, all they care about is being in office. But when you tell them, we won't get you to office if you don't listen to us and if you don't listen to our concerns, then that's definitely a way to advocate. It's also to make sure that you're researching yourself, that you're actually researching yourself, not like researching yourself, but doing the research also. Sometimes people will go into a doctor's office, doctor will hand them prescriptions and tell them, go take this, but people don't know what that's for. You ask them, what medications are you taking, or why are you taking these medications? They don't know. And if those medications cause adverse side effects, sometimes, people with diabetes will take something and it'll, make them drowsy, or it'll make them go to the bathroom more times than usual. You can talk to your doctor and say, I need this changed. You can definitely advocate for yourself in that way. And doctors are required to listen, because I can prescribe something for you and I can think it's good for you. But at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to be taking it, and you're going to be the one who's, who are experiencing the adverse side effects. So definitely, also being able to speak for yourself in that regard. So again, the number one way is by lobbying and writing to your legislators, and then talking to your physician, your PCP, and telling them this is what it is that I'm experiencing, or this is what's going on. Amina has said our healthcare community needs to prepare to pivot quickly with regard to their approach to the care of Black women during what is arguably the most vulnerable moments of their life. I agree. And I think it's important that we do begin to actually see people as people, and not as just, things or experiments, or, whatever it is that we see people who are less than us as. So it's definitely important to begin to actually do that. Hi, Sandra.
Hi. Oh my gosh. Thank you for that information. I just wanted to thank you personally because we lost our daughter. It's been almost 20 years. And the way you were explaining the statistics, the way you were explaining how these women were being treated, just echoed resoundingly on the treatment that I had when we lost our daughter. And it was because I was not being listened to. Everything could have been prevented. And I only assumed that the only reason why I didn't go along with her is because I just feel that my daughter sacrificed herself because she's my daughter, and because I still had a lot of work to do. But as far as that heals me, at least spiritually. I still know that she's around. But the truth of the matter is, every day it's just not easy to go through, neither for me, neither for my husband. We always live this every day, every day. It never goes away. But what you said, the information that you gave was just, it echoed so loudly that it made me realize, wait a minute, this was just a lot more than something that happened. This happens way too often. Those statistics are incredible. They're scary because what do you mean that these women have gone through this mortality, these families? No, I couldn't believe what I was listening to. So thank you for doing this research. I appreciate it. And I, ever the scholar, I if there's anything that you might want to do in the future, um where you feel that you need some information, and I'll be willing to help look some information, because it's just like, I'll be a voice for you. I'll whatever it is that you need. I just want to put myself out there to help you with that, because right now we're in Ohio, and we tried again, and once again it did not work. We tried through, fertility, and it did not work, and it's like it just it makes it makes things worse. It makes things, because of that first complication, now it makes it harder for me to be able to have. And I don't lose hope, but the truth of the matter is that there are a lot of women that the psychological damage that it does to you is insane. And so I just also want to put myself out there for other women who have gone through this, um, and the families who have lost those women in their lives, to be able to at least extend my love, my heart, and just try, because there is no comfort that you can provide when it comes to a loss like that. But the truth of the matter is, if there's a way to prevent it, then I want to be part of it. So please just take that under your consideration. Look for me, and thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I really just wanted to thank you for that information. I was blown away. I was blown away.
Absolutely. Again, my condolences to you for that loss. It never gets easier. They say time heals wounds. There's some wounds that just don't ever close. And so I'm really sorry that was something that you and your family had to experience. And I thank you for your strength and for coming here and sharing. that with us. I'm getting a little emotional, actually. Um,
It's always emotional for us. It's just, Joey started watching and then he's like, I got to turn this around because I don't think I can watch. And I was like, I'll listen because it's just like, I have to. Out of the both of us, there are days that he's my strength, there are days that I'm his strength. So at least we learn how to balance each other out. You know what I mean? But when it comes to these situations, it really, really kind of like it was like a smack in the face. I was like, wait a minute, this it wasn't just by happenstance. This is something that is a result of. And I wish I knew, when I was that at that time that everything that you consume, because there is that, you're missing that knowledge as well when you're that young. You're trained to eat all this, and culturally, we have all these starchy foods, and we have on, we want to be able to also help um, something that as far as these women and what they're feeding their bodies. I mean, guys, I'm a teacher and I'm always fighting with my kids to eat healthy. I was like, no, what are you doing with hot chips first thing in the morning? Put that away. You know what I mean? And it's because we get used to eating this way, and then we're poisoning our bodies with the very same things that they're pushing in our faces with these commercials. And it's like, stop. This is not, I mean, I want to share something with you guys. Hopefully it doesn't break. But if I can change my camera around, because this is what we do every year. We come from Puerto Rico, and learning how to do a season was an issue. But if I can change my camera, I don't know if I can flip it. Nope. I'm gonna just flip it this way. So can you see behind me?
hmm Plants. You're growing plants.
This is
Fresh fruit.
this is everything that we're trying to do. So we know, we have pigeon peas, we have avocado, and we're in Ohio.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing.
These um papaya, oregano, tomato, dishes, and I don't know if you can slam. You have you got dirt. You can grow something for yourself, and you can feed your family something healthy. I don't want to hear that excuse of it. It's just like it's just lack of knowledge. So a lot of times people use that because they just don't know. And Joey and I are both city kids that grew up in New York, and we were blessed to have been moved to home, to Puerto Rico, to where we're supposed to be, and have learned. But this is something that it's a lot deeper. And we come from an agricultural culture, true due to the colonization. But before that, our Taino Indians knew all about nature and knew how to take advantage of those herbs and those plants, and that still travels, and a lot of times we don't pay attention, we don't hear that, and that's information that needs to be shared. So with something as simple as feeding yourself fresh fruit or fresh vegetables can help save that life. And we don't have access to that. It's because we don't have the knowledge to grow it ourselves, because Mother Nature always finds a way to take care of her babies. So we're
Absolutely.
just not listening to mom. We're just not listening to mom. And I don't know that I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm very passionate about this, but I just wanted to share. I just wanted to share and to thank you. Thank you so much for that information, because it has inspired me to kind of like push a little bit harder to have my ladies make sure that they eat well, and everyone to eat well. Feed your families.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for sharing your story with us, and for having the courage and the strength to come here live. And not only for people who are watching currently, but for everybody else who will watch later, and just having the strength to share that. I appreciate you. I'll keep you in my prayers, definitely. And I thank you for your courage and for your strength.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Dima. It's always a
Sandra.
pleasure to see
I
you.
love you. I send you
Love.
blessings, love to you and Joey, and thank you for your courage and for continuing to inspire and empower us just by being you, my love.
Thank you very
I love
much. I'll
this.
see you. Besos.
Besos.
Missy Mani said something really important, actually. She said support more doula and midwife services. doulas have actually been found to actually reduce the amount of maternal mortality, because doulas are trained to provide stress. And by decreasing stress, you're decreasing maternal mortality. So doulas and midwives don't get enough credit, but doulas and midwives are actually super important to reducing maternal mortality. So shout out to all the doulas that are out there. Shout out to all of the doulas that exist. And honestly, this project right here is really important to me. And it's not important to me just because I had a friend pass away from this, but because Black women are my mother. Black women are my sister. Black women are everything. And so this project right here is for Black women. So I promise you, Black women, that I'll continue to work on things that actually matter. And not just through my poetry, but also using my academic talents to make sure that the world is equal for you, and that you are able to um, thrive and survive and live in this world. Because the statistic is this is depressing, and I'll be honest with you, as this I worked on this project for a semester, and I had to ask my advisor, how is it that you look through statistics like this? How is it that you see these numbers and you don't get depressed? Um, how is it that you don't cry? And I spent an entire semester on this, crying every single day, because I live with Black women. Black women in my community.
Mazin, let's take a deep breath. Let's take a deep breath in gratitude. In gratitude for the knowledge that you are sharing with us to help us empower Black women, to help us be better advocates for ourselves. Let's take a deep breath and honor these women we have lost, and pray for their souls. Pray for the children they have lost. And give thanks that God has guided us and is continuing to guide us to more knowledge and more wisdom, so that we may do something about it. You are doing something about it. You are spending sleepless nights going through depressing research, so you may empower women and empower men to empower women. Take a moment and take a deep breath and honor that.
So again, thank you everybody for your engagement in this conversation. Thank you, Miss Sandra, again for your bravery, your courage. Thank you, everybody who's participated, for all the comments. If you would like to ask me any questions, by all means, feel free to ask me. You can find me on any, you can you can find me anywhere. Basically, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than willing to explain things to you. And if there's any questions that you were shy and weren't, didn't want to ask, or I don't believe in stupid questions, but if there's anything that you felt you couldn't ask on here, by all means, please.
We honor her, we love her, we pray for her. We pray that you meet and that she continues to watch over. We honor you, Sandra, and we honor Joey. And you are in our prayers. And yes, we must continue to share this knowledge. We must continue to share our experiences. We must continue to learn, so that we may teach, and teach so that we may keep learning. And I'm not just saying this because Mazin is my Ubuntu fellow, but I give thanks to him every single day for dealing with the news that we keep receiving from every single direction, whether it's from back home or our communities at large, or the numbers and the statistics and the news he comes through in his work and in his research and in his volunteering and in him being a community builder. It is because of people like Mazin, like Sandra, like Imani, like Joey, like our whole family who keep showing up here. Show up as tired as they are, but show up to share, show up to support, show up to love, that we say we are Africa Rising.
Absolutely. I think that's a great note to end this panel on. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for your engagement. Again, thank you to Dima and Alexandra for hosting Africa Week 2020 and from jumping in immediately from New BFS into this. Thank you for everything that you do. I hope that you are able to get a good night's sleep. Again, if anybody has any questions for me, please feel free to ask. And I hope everybody has a wonderful night.
Thank you very much. Oh, we have one more comment. Sandra saying thank you.
You're very welcome, Miss Sandra.
Have a good night.